Rothless Lagoon. Even the brushers stopped going there. Didn't like being eaten. Rothless Lagoon. That ain't the sort of place you'd want to go by choice. Many a tale folks use to scare their children straight originated here. All kinds of beasts what don't know up from down, still lurking about.
So sometimes, the things the Ruck says when you first enter a level might be different than you remember if you played this game before. That's because he actually has multiple things to say when you enter a level. He always says the same thing the first time, but he usually has one or two other things to say if you restart the level.
Only the city's brushers knew their way around the lagoon.
And this just sets up a decoy for enemies to attack instead of you. Makes you invisible. It's not that great, though. The decoy, though, looks like one of the targets that you shoot in the proving ground for the revolvers, though.
Even the brushers learned to fear this place.
Actually, go up here first. I swear there's something up there. Oh well.
They used to think that ankle gators were extinct. Well, they ain't. One of them's been living in the tall grass. They called her Queen Anne. The lagoon's got plenty of other dangers, of course. Turns out Queen Anne got a hold of a shard. Ankle gators love shiny things.
These enemies just block your path. If you get too close, they start shooting out slow-moving gas clouds, and just standing in them does damage over time. It also messes up your screen.
Ain't time for pecker hunting, but the kid can't resist. Know what smells worse than an ankle gator's breath? A stinkweed. Can't fight Queen Anne without the proper tools. The brushers use their pikes to keep their distance around here. Now the kid can do the same. They say you can't hurt an ankle gator unless it's raining, and it ain't raining.
So the Brusher's Pike is one of the weapons I like to use a lot. Out of all the melee weapons, I believe this one has the longest range. It's kind of slow. No combos, you can only just thrust it forward. But you can also throw it, just like the machete. It takes longer before you can throw it a second time, though. I prefer to use this over the machete, just because this thing does a lot of damage. About as strong as the hammer, actually.
Sharp sticks make Queen Anne nervous, so she backs off a bit. Kid's got a means growing on. Those pin cushions been living off the ankle gator's scraps. Queen Anne can't fit down some of these narrow paths. Queenie leads the kid into some kind of twisted trap. One bad step in that tall grass and he's Queen Anne's lunch. He holds his ground. Seems the Queen's running out of options. The closer you get to an ankle gator's lair, the thicker the tall grass grows. Kid's gotta make a run for it. Those leaping lunkheads don't like Queen Anne any better than the kid. That old gator's right on his tail. Queenie must have scared a bunch of peckers out of hiding. Seems even stinkweeds know to stay away from the Queen. Queen's got one mean bite. Ankle gators don't much care for their young. That's why there ain't many around. Wanna know how to find an ankle gator lair? You use a kid as bait.
So the ankle gator isn't...
Now she's coming for him. She's got nowhere else to go. The shard's sitting in plain view. They say if you run across an ankle gator, you better keep running.
So the ankle gator itself isn't too hard. You just have to bait it into trying to attack you by running across its horn. But then it starts spawning all the different plant enemies.
And now he's made her mad.
And once she starts to take enough damage, she starts moving even faster.
Rest in peace, Queen Anne. That was for the brushers. He's got it, and he's home free. Kid's done what needed to be done. Queen Anne's reign is over. We even got a crown jewel. All that trouble for a single shard. But you know what? It was worth it. They said Queen Anne was just a folktale. Now there's living proof she ain't. That gator's a crazy gal, but so's the gal who promised to look after her. He ain't all that shy.
So getting the ankle gator egg gets us yet another pet for the Bastion. If you look at it, actually a second time, you can make it follow you.
Oh she's cute now. Just you wait.
Also, we have a mailbox now. It serves no purpose. It's just some extra dressing.
Still no mail. Go figure.
Let's see. I suppose now would be a decent time to upgrade the shop, so we can get some new things to buy.
We need an awful big lost and found under the circumstances.
Also, I didn't point out last time, but when you actually upgrade a structure, it looks different. It gets really tall. Lots of extra stuff on top of it. Same for the forge we upgraded. Really big now. Really tall. Has a giant anvil on top of it. Oh boy. Some more upgrade materials and some extra spirits. Some of these are pretty good, especially Leechade. Leechade is a really good spirit. Even though the side effect sounds like it'd be pretty bad. Basically, when you have Leechade equipped, if you attack an enemy, you gain a little bit of health back. The side effect is that drinking a health tonic makes it heal 66% less. You can easily make up for this just by hitting stuff a lot, though. I've also got Bull Brandy, Graver Gimlet, and Mendermead is a good one, I think. Oh, this is the one I was talking about. When we first met the pincushions, I said there is a spirit that, when equipped, would make the pincushions a decent way to heal yourself. If you have Mendermead equipped, anytime you counter-attack something with the shield, you gain a little bit of health. And because the needles that the pincushions shoot move so fast, counter-blocking one needle automatically counterblocks a second one. Makes it really easy to gain back a lot of health. I'll save Leechade for a little bit later. However, we do want more something pointies, because that's what you use to upgrade the pike.
Folks say Mender mead's good for you. It's like an herb garden in full bloom.
Scrap Musket and Brusher's Pike is also another combo I've used quite a lot in this game.
Want to keep the wilds at bay? Pack yourself a musket and a pike.
Okay, now the pike. Pretty much all the upgrades for the pike are good. You're not gonna gimp it no matter how you upgrade it. I don't tend to go towards these upgrades that make the throw better. I don't use the throw too much. It's just simply for when I really can't reach an enemy. So instead, let's go with better critical hit chance.
To fix a brusher's pike, you just need a good length of knife bark.
You can also use it to upgrade it to knock back enemies. That's okay, but I already have the shotgun which does the knockback thing, so I think, again, just upgrade critical hit.
Don't want that thing leaving your hands until you decide it's time.
And now throw attacks can either stun enemies, or you can use it or upgrade it to attack a little bit faster, about 20% faster. I believe there are actually two thrust upgrades.
Gotta make sure the pointy end's fastened on real tight.
Fortunately, we can't afford to upgrade it anymore at the moment.
The next shard should be farther out there in the wilds.
So here's another proving ground that people commonly have problems with. This one can be a little tough.
Over there's Camp Dauncey, where the brushers steel themselves for secret missions. To prepare for the wilds, Ceylonia's brushers practice at Camp Dauncey. Had to navigate a maze of pincushions with nothing but a pike.
So here is another proving ground that you can cheese with were whiskey. But let's see if we can do it without it. I've been able to do it before. It's just that you really do not have much time to do this. But basically, when you activate this, you have to run around a giant maze of pincushions that are always shooting needles. And you have to take out just the ones needed to get to 6 different switches. Or is it 5? But you have to activate all the switches in order to get to the end.
It's a dangerous test for a dangerous job. Sometimes the course was brutal.
You can also use, I can't remember the name of it right now. The spirit you use to give you an extra life and also explode when you die, that's also going here, because you can see I just did 100 points of damage to a whole bunch of pincushions.
Health tonics were off limits at Camp Dauncey. They said they made you weak.
Well, I have were whiskey activated anyways. Oh well. At least in getting everything with one shot.
The rules said he couldn't use any fancy footwork, just your brains and your pike.
When he says no fancy footwork, that means you can't roll in this mission either, in this proving ground, so can't speed it up that way.
A good enough run at Camp Dauncey could get you promoted to captain on the spot.
So yeah, first place with this one is 60 seconds. Another way to cheese this is with the same spirits I have right now, the one that gives you an extra life and were whiskey. Before you even activate the proving ground, you can actually just run around before you ever start it. And if you also have the spirit equipped that lets you shoot spikes out of you when you get hurt, you can just run into some pincushions to clear them out before you even start.
The wilds ain't so scary now, are they? Point Lemaine's Grand Rail once brought the riches of the wild right to our doorstep. Know how Caelandia became the richest city in the world? 2 words. Point Lemaine. If the wilds could ever be tamed, it was gonna happen right here. But now, the greatest outpost past the city line is nothing but a freak show. The army's triggers once had the place on lockdown.
Aha! Here's another weapon that this is one of my most used weapons in this game, top 2.
Kid might as well pick up where they left off.
So this is an interesting weapon.
Blam! Just like my fighting days. Gun like that can even put the wilds in check.
Whoops. So the carbine is a single shot weapon. You have to charge up the shot. You can see when I first start holding down the button, you got those lines and they slowly line up. The longer you hold the button down, the more accurate the gun becomes.
Point Lemaine seen better days for sure, but it ain't done.
This weapon can also be power shotted. Power shot is actually not when it first completely lines up, it's just right before it. So power shot won't be in like 100% accurate. It'll be pretty accurate, though.
Whole place shudders in a fit. The grand rail of Point Lemaine. Not only is it still there, it still works. Of course, it's no longer shipping hides and alloys and spices, but it can give the kid a lift. Just as long as he can stay clear of the trouble on the tracks. Grand rails all grown over with things of calamity chewed up and spat out. Things eager to take back their turf. Kid don't let so much as one of those things slip by. Lunkheads settled in like they own the place.
So another nice thing about the carbine is that even while it's wildly inaccurate when you first start charging it up, this also helps it double as a sort of shotgun, especially later on with its final upgrade. It's not as good as a shotgun, but up close, when it's this inaccurate, it also makes the shot spread out farther. So that makes it good for taking out groups of squirts when you're really up close. And peckers, too.
Takes fancy footwork on the rail, what with wallflowers coughing fungus everywhere. Place used to be closed off, but now it's split open like a rotten pineapple. Of course, the Grand Rails seen much more fighting in bygone times. Near on 50 years ago, first shots fired in the Ura-Celandian War.
Wasn't going to use the carbine there, because you might have noticed when you fire off a shot, it actually pushes you back a little bit. The kickback on this can actually get a little bit worse when you upgrade it. So make sure not to be right next to an edge, or else you might knock yourself off.
It was right here that Zolf's Ura forefathers decided to mix it up.
Also, you can see when I counter-blocked one of the needles, it gave me 2 points of health back.
Okay, so maybe we didn't get their sign-off on the whole Grand Rail thing. That was bad. The rail must have shook the Ura to the bone down in those dens of theirs. Well, the rail won't last much longer now that the kid took the shard. It's still got one good run in store for him, though. All the rotten wood there on the rails turned it into Swamp Weed Central. tried dancing side to side while holding her breath, while shooting a genuine registered army carbine, while choking on swamp weed, while peckers trying to prick you in the eye. Well, let me tell you, it ain't fun. But then at last, it's the end of the line. Should have seen him tiptoe around those swamp weeds in his way. Turns out he's got company up at the rail station, waiting for him. Not just another wallflower or pincushion, mind you. At first, he thinks it's Zulf. This is for you, says the man. Then wham! When the kid comes to, the man's long gone, but something else is there. The only words Kid recognizes on that parchment are for Zia. Well, what's a kid to do? He took the shard, he took the hit, and he took that note.